Welcome, Ivo Locatelli, to this Q&A to promote the launch of the book Innovation and Collaboration in the Digital Era. Welcome.
Very kind of you to inviting me, Jara. It's my
yes,
pleasure.
Because you are inside the book in the chapter 8, in the page 198, talking about what is public innovation procurement. So my question to you is, how can a public or private organization change and adapt their procurement process, very traditional ones, to the process to purchase innovative solutions?
All right, Jara, thanks for the question, which is extremely appropriate. I think it touches on a very, very relevant point. I think that the first point is that it's a matter of changing of mindset, a matter of change of posture towards innovation. Within that context, maybe two very relevant adaptations are, first, the relations vis-a-vis the suppliers and vis-a-vis the ecosystem. A buyer needs to be extremely proactive and attentive of what's happening into the market, trying to grasp information about new technological developments, emerging technologies, new solutions, new suppliers, changes also into the market. It has to do this regularly, not only once a while, in order to be really up to date. The second one, in terms of innovation, I think that you have to adjust your organization in order to be fully receptive to innovation, which means maybe more open processes, more open-minded approach, a lot of multidisciplinarity in order to, let's say, fully incorporate innovation. Certain process, of course, internally needs to be also adjusted in order to be able to absorb that innovation.
Yeah, this is a way of, if you don't have as an organization the capacity to be innovative, then the option is to buy innovative solutions. So why is much more important to talk about innovation procurement and not about corporate ventures, for instance, like where the corporate or the organization is creating their own accelerator? Like it's much more higher expensive, like maybe going and do your research and purchase an innovative solution from a startup.
But I think that in terms of impact, innovative procurement is far bigger than any corporate ventures you could think of, maybe in the most extreme case. We have to remember that innovation procurement, the public procurement represents at least 14% of the GDP. Public procurement is the biggest buyers in a number of very, very important areas, such as health, such as IT, defense, public transport, and so on. And these are also sectors which are extremely relevant as a citizens or as a business, but also are extremely relevant as a technological sectors. They drive a lot of the innovation development which occur into today's work. I think that also in terms of process, I'm not frankly an expert of corporate ventures, but I think that with a procurement, essentially you have the possibility of scanning and contacting the whole market, all possible changes will happen into the market. Here, the other option seems to be a little bit more inward looking, and so certain more restricted into the possibility of exploring something which is dynamic per se. So you're missing certain opportunities.
Yeah, totally. And how do you see the role of procurement of innovative solutions as a key enabler for innovation adoption and increase the levels of innovation in Europe?
I think it's so as a for the adoption, it's extremely important because we know that in many markets the public purchase represent the first buyer, the first customer, which is for any startup.
They need customers.
Eh?
They need customers, not
they need
only
customers,
investment.
and the first one maybe is the most relevant one because it's the one which, let's say, also gives you the motivation and the to go ahead. I would say, if I can make a joke, that it's like the first love. No, you don't forget about it. So it's extremely important. In terms of say, as a driver of innovation, well, as I was saying before, this is absolutely fundamental. And I think that the potential of the public purse in that respect is not yet fully exploited. The possibilities are much more. Unfortunately, innovation procurement is not sufficiently known by public buyers. Also, the approach and the mindset often is very much risk adverse. It's about kind of clerical exercise, the repetition of to always the same approach, not changing the technical specification, having technical specification which are super restricted, which basically automatically define who's going to be the supplier providing the products, which per se is a closure to any possibility to innovate. So the possibilities are, I think, immense. And also I think that the public administration per se, the public service, needs so much innovation in order to change itself, to modernize, and to develop and to meet the expectation of business citizens in order to perfectly fulfill its mission.
Yeah, it's the part to be relevant in the future.
Absolutely. It's not to remain stuck to very old model and to complete adaptation to the very relevant transitions we are facing now. I think, yes, you use the very right word, relevance, in the sense that, and I think that nowadays you cannot, let's say, refuse to innovate. Either you innovate or you're stuck, and so you are becoming less relevant.
Yeah, totally. And it's very curious how the society now has problems with change when we change all the time. And if we didn't change, we had not, the basics, the printer, for instance, or other type of industrial revolutions, they were not there. And now we have to think much more broader to say the impact on sustainability. So now the innovation is mandatory to go to more sustainable processes and technology and to be digital, and this means innovation.
Absolutely. This is exactly what I was meaning. So we are bound to change to complete this green and digital solution, and this implies inevitably innovation. We're just bound to innovate.
So what we have to adapt, maybe the European policies to provide tax benefits or other financial incentive when organizations are buying innovative solutions instead of traditional options, because it's at that point when they can make a decision to be innovative or to be traditional.
Yes, I think that there are a number of tools, let's say, to stimulate innovation, which are all relevant and useful, and which depend very much from, well, the level, the modality in which they are introduced, and the level of adaptation readiness of the country. So they are all extremely valid. Tax incentive can be extremely useful, but I have to say, if you take a country which has already extremely low taxation rate, maybe their impact is going to be less relevant. Also, yes, it leaves on the companies maybe a higher revenue due to less taxation, but on the other hand, does not drive, let's say, the suppliers towards developing innovation against the certain specific needs. And this is what public procurement of innovation does. In public procurement of innovation, the public buyers identifies a specific need which is unmet by current the solutions available. It describes the solution in functional, let's say, terms, follows a given procedure which can be negotiated, innovation partnership or competitive dialogue, whatever. And then a number of suppliers come up with possible solutions to this problem, which means already steering, let's say, or directing innovation within given sector of activity. And I think this is extremely important. Also, we have to consider that the innovation which can happen in the public sector can bring extreme benefit in terms of process savings, so less expenditures for taxpayers. It can bring very often a more efficient product for the public administration. It can bring a lot of social and green innovation to activities which are carried out by the state. So all these links, so again, to the green and digital transition, which we were mentioning before. That's why I think so public procurement, innovation procurement is very, very important in that respect. I may just want to say that the Commission has adopted on the 18th of June of this year some new guidances on this, updating the guidances of 2018, bringing many practical examples and also practical guidance to public buyers in order to, let's say, further take up this opportunity.
Yeah, and I think this is the part where all we can think about, to say how I can change my supply chain, my value chain, when I am asking for, I want innovation here. So I want a different thing. Like, we have not to underestimate the power of procurement when we change the whole ecosystem.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, what you're saying is extremely fitting to what has happened as all of us recently with the COVID crisis, whereby we have seen a complete reshaping of the supply chains. And maybe also this has also brought us to rethink and reconsider certain elements of the organization of the supply chain. To change it, we need to innovate. And in fact, basically, against in the crisis which have been facing, many public buyers have been found themselves in the impossibility to continue with the traditional way of doing business, and they have been challenged to innovate. The same has been the case, of course, to many suppliers in order to meet this tremendous challenge.
Yeah, even I remember, I think it was 2004 when I was intern in one telecom company. I was in the procurement department, and we received boxes with folders with all the information we asked for, and everything on paper, and like everything with a stamp and very physical. And now, even, well, I think it changed a lot, but for the good, I think it's much more efficient, and we can see the future as well, much more modern and digital as well for procurement.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, in terms of public procurement, the directives had imposed a transition to the digitization to a number of elements of the process. I think this has been extremely valuable. Yes, before not only the bidders had to submit these tons of papers, but also, like, let me just indicate, in order that for the suppliers, in order to get the terms of reference to participate to the bid, very often had to pick them up physically in one specific location, which was per se a tremendous burden for the suppliers, and if you want, the barriers to competition, because if you were located already 200 kilometers away and the market was not sufficiently attractive for you, you wouldn't go.
Yeah.
So yes, the digitization, modernization, and all this brings Again, innovation, this is process innovation. It has been a
Yeah.
terrific process innovation applied to public procurement. And per se, actually, the digitization of public procurement has been a tremendous entry point for the digitization of public administration and the introduction of the once only principle. So the fact that public administration, which has data, information about suppliers, should not ask it to the suppliers even more. Of course, this is not fully realized everywhere. It's a very long process. It's extremely complicated, but this is on the way. Let's say the way is traced.
Yeah, and we did it, and we can still doing it. So
absolutely, absolutely. We
so
have
yeah, totally. So thank you very much, Ivo Locatelli, for this interview. I think you are in the book. We are here talking about innovation and how we can collaborate digitally much better to create a better future. I think that's the objective. No, we have not to forget the vision.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that with your work and with your initiatives, you are contributing to achieve these very, very important objectives. Jara, so many thanks for your work, and good luck. And thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Ivo.
Thank you.
Voila, we have this conversation with Ivo Locatelli, expert on innovation procurement, and where you can find here in the book an interview in the chapter 8, which is about innovation procurement and corporate ventures. So we have an interview every week with a person, an expert who is here in the book explaining all the points and perspectives about innovation in every chapter. And if you like these interviews and you like the book, you can subscribe to this channel, and as well, please comment, ask all the questions you have here below, because that is the way we can head into your innovation journey, and how, in this case of innovation procurement, how we can help you to innovate, to purchase and buy innovative solutions when you are in any kind of organization, public organization, private, small organization, big organization. If you want to innovate, you can buy innovative solutions from startups or other companies. And this is a very easy way to be innovative as well. So thank you very much. See you next week in our book launch interviews.